Melbourne town where the suits all grind, there's a lawyer with a vision, one of a kind. He's the Aussie overlawd. He'll fight for your rights, and he's got his own channel shining bright. From the courtroom to the web, he's got it all, sharing legal knowledge, answering the call. He breaks it down in a language we all understand. The Aussie overlawd taking a stand. With his Aussie charm and his legal know-how, he's the hero we need, showing us how. He fights for justice, no case too tough. The Aussie overlawd, he's more than enough. He's more than enough. In Melbourne town where the suits all grind, there's a lawyer with a
And good afternoon, good evening, and good night, and welcome to today's episode of To Be Advised. I'm your host, Hayden Glaister, an attorney from Melbourne. Well, that might be a stretch. Am I Australian? Am I an attorney? You'll never know. I could be in a dome in Ohio for all you know. Anyway, eat what the monkeys eat. I will be perfectly honest. I have never really given any thought to any sort of meetup because, a handful of people have shown interest at any point. I'm more likely to do one in my hometown first. But, if there's enough interest, yeah, sure, maybe. Which is worse, beans on toast or Vegemite and butter on toast? It's a good question. I think both have their time and place. I think that baked beans on toast is going to be more for when you're feeling depressed, whereas Vegemite and toast is when you're trying to be a little bit more healthy and having a breakfast. So I would say from a practicality standpoint, beans on toast because it takes forever to make, whereas Vegemite, it's literally bread in the toaster, it pops up, butter, Vegemite, you're good. So we're on a third attempt of trapping a groundhog. Damn thing's dragging the trap around. No shit. Darren would also want a Sydney meetup. Okay, so that's 2 for a Sydney meetup. I'll have to keep track of that somewhere. Hang on. Where's one of my memory cards? I bought cards to help me deal with some of the file management for the firm, but I've found that it's also helping me to just keep track of all the crap to do with the stream as well. Because I'm just writing little notes and keeping things for me. So, all right. So what do we got? We got possible meetup. Okay. Melbourne, Sydney. So we got 2 for Sydney. I'll keep 1 for Melbourne. I think some from chat's in Perth as well. Be there. Arranging a real crime walking tour of the Golden Mile. No shit. Okay, so I suppose that's 3 then. I mean, I could just be a dick and organise it for Darwin, and everyone has to travel. um, I'll be perfectly honest. I'd plan on doing some research and like prep work for this show like 2 hours beforehand. Unfortunately, Scarlett was very unsettled tonight and just I don't know where she got the like. I think she's been watching too many like kids YouTube videos. She's because she was sitting on her bed. I walked in because we let her have a device, either a tablet or one of my phone or Mel's phone, to watch YouTube Kids for a little bit before she sort of winds down and then reads a book and goes to bed. And and I walked in and she was sitting on her bed cross-legged and she was a little bit teary. And so I sat down next to her on her bed and I gave her a cuddle and I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, I can't I can't fall asleep. Like, I don't understand how long I'm supposed to close my eyes for until I go to sleep, but I can't sit here and just be on my own, and I can't meditate." And I'm like, meditate? When did this become a thing? When did you start? When did you even learn that word? And like, so in the end, I wound up just having to sit down and cuddle her, and she fell asleep in the crook of my arm again, which we're trying to phase out because it's just not going to be helpful down the track for, I mean, when I got back from America in August, we went out, got the princess bed so that she'd be a big girl, she'd be sleeping in her own bed, she'd be going to sleep in her own bed, she'd be there, and, she'd have it so long as she was a good girl. And, it's just been recently, and I think maybe it was the second trip. I think the trip to Vegas made her a little bit more clingy. So she sort of, yeah, she's gone back to the stage 5 clinger scenario. So I really don't want her falling asleep in the crook of my arm, but she's done it since she was a baby, so we'll see exactly what happens. What's the weirdest food that Americans eat that makes you question things? Corn syrup will be his answer.
Good morning all. Love you all. Please keep praying. I will keep fighting. Been a really rough couple of weeks. THX Saucy, mods, and chat, heart.
I'm really sorry to hear that it's been a rough week, Fiery, but thank you very much for your membership, chat, and thank you for being a member for 5 months. I have a starlight. If you want me to send it to you, she can lay in bed and watch all the stars go around her room. She's got a like a VTech star clock that sort of like lights up and goes through the colors and that sort of thing as a nightlight, and it like shines the actual time on the roof with some stars and that sort of thing. It's more just she doesn't seem to understand the concept of laying down and closing your eyes is effectively you have to pretend to go to sleep in order to go to sleep. And I don't know. I'm not sure if it's something that I've just failed at as a parent or if I need to need to focus more on helping her with it, but I don't know. As for the food, like ingredient wise, yeah, I'd say the high fructose corn syrup because it makes everything taste like shit to me. I'll be perfectly honest. Biscuits and gravy is weird because for me, she can't turn her brain off. Yeah. I think it's probably she's got the same problem that I do because it used to be that I used to have to take melatonin to go to sleep, and now since I've done streaming, it's more just like it takes me an hour to shut down, but you guys listen to me prattle on and I get all the thoughts out of my brain for a long time. So may just have insomnia, had trouble sleeping since I was a kid. Yeah, I'm starting to think she's taken after her dear old dad a little bit too much than she should. So, but that's fine. We'll work on it. She can. I'm just hoping that that's what it is, and it's not that she's having like a regression into this whole separation anxiety thing. So, because don't get me wrong, I love it a bits. But there's only so many times you can get cock blocked by a 5-year-old, But yeah, no, biscuits and gravy is a little bit weird to me. Because for us, like, I'm used to gravy being a very savory, sauce that goes on like potatoes or hot chips or roast meat, that sort of thing. So you take melatonin to keep night terrors in check. I haven't had to take melatonin in probably a good couple of years now, but I was taking it for a while there. So why is that only picking up certain chats and not all of them? Oh well, doesn't matter. Love your streams, don't always comment. Well, Leslie, appreciate you being here and taking the time to comment. I appreciate it. Hot chips, fries, yeah. Well, I mean, there's a difference between fries and hot chips because your hot chips are your, like your steak cut chips, the ones that you get at a pub. Your French fries are what we would normally call fries, and, you know, they're always thin cut, so. Oh, I think it's got, hang on. Ah, that was the problem. It automatically deletes them after a while. I need to remove that because that's going to be annoying. Remove showtime. No, I want to remove the showtime. I don't want to include it. Auto showtime. Auto showtime. How did I mess this up? Hide messages after 20 seconds. Yep, just want to take that off. Okay, that should work. Hey, Dork, how you doing, buddy? We all like it thick. Yeah, well. Chips equals fries, crisps equals chips. Only in the UK, because here it is chips, 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 and chips. You have hot chips for dinner. You have packet chips out of a thing. You have, no, that's really about it. Love that Australians are still a little bit UK with the words. Well, for a while there, we were still speaking the King's English now, because I suppose the Queen's dead, so. Had a holiday and work is mental. No, dude, I, appreciate you stopping by when you can, so. He says a bit of an overactive brain. She can only fall asleep with some kind of white noise like a radio on. And I think that's probably, I think I have something similar, which is why I generally am falling to sleep with a video of some sort playing in my ear these days. He probably doesn't want to hear this, but probably 8 times out of 10, I fall asleep listening to Jeff watching a stream or something like that. A, because I put the stream on to be, a good bloke, because, it's watch time for him and all that sort of stuff. But, just leaving it on in my ear, it works. So, but, yeah, tis what it is, and that's all that it is. So, I was thinking about watching the O'Keefe interview. Haven't really decided whether or not should be doing that. We went to the States. Remember how strange the bread was? Very sweet and almost tastes artificial. That... There goes a cigar cutter. That's what happens when I keep playing with it. That was a little bit weird as well. Here working need background sound tonight. I'm researching the night Sydney was attacked. Ew. Well, good luck with that. I have to listen to something to fall asleep to drown out the hubby snores. Have you thought about putting one of the... Damn it, I think I got an ingrown hair in my beard. Shit, I'm going to have to sort that out later too. I think you can get, like, face masks that change the sound of snores into various other things. Like, I don't know if that's legit or if I'm just talking out my ass, but might be worth a shot. Joining Jeff when he watches it? Probably not, because I think he's doing that Monday night our time, and I've got to drive Tuesday, so there probably won't even be this stream Tuesday night. But I'll see what happens. The crowd is vitriolic with the whole Reed case. Yeah. And I can't quite wrap my head around how a pillow over the face helps. I still can't quite work out how some people can be so blind. Then he'd be busy laughing at different noises. Fair call. Fair call. Hey, Timple's Game Music. How you doing, buddy? Been a while. Genuinely worse than AH and JD. And I think that the reason why it's worse is because, at least with celebrities, you could kind of understand why someone would be potentially so much of a, what's the word I'm looking for here? Why'd be so much of a supporter irrespective of the evidence portrayed in front of you? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel like for a bunch of the Karen Reid supporters, seeing certain things in this trial would have been like the flat Earth guys that turned around and accidentally proved to themselves that the Earth is flat. That the Earth is round by doing that experiment with the 3 holes and the light and that sort of thing. How's he so blind? I just don't get it. Well, see, I haven't seen the interview, so I don't know. I presume it's bad because, I mean, it's had 204 views in 2 days and it's got 9,100 comments. Now, the way that he was acting during the trial, I kind of felt that he was a bit of a dick anyway. But I mean, it was what I was saying to Ian earlier on Jeff's stream. I genuinely think that probably it's his way of dealing with the trauma, and he's latched onto it. Did you get my email about Proctor pulling "get off my lawn" moment? No, I haven't seen that. Hey, expert, how you doing? Hang on, let me pull that up too then. If we're gonna do a outside read stream, I might as well get a couple of things out of the way too. Shit, where are we? So, Proctor after Karen Reid. Okay.
We have our team in.
All right. Well, yeah, we can do that. We'll go through that and that. All right. That's a good starting point for us to jump off. Know how you deal with Karen Reid haters. Stop engaging with them. Co-founders just being a troll at this point. When I'm sick, I listen to angry video game nerd episodes to help me sleep. Hearing James suffer is cathartic. All right, now hopefully audio and everything should be working. So,
Place tonight at 6, but let's begin with NBC 10 investigator Kathy Curran. Kathy, you just spoke exclusively with one of the central figures in this case, State Police Trooper Michael Proctor. We all know his name, and it sounds like he wasn't thrilled to see you.
Well, Glenn, you know, there's a lot of pressure on the lead investigator, Trooper Michael Proctor.
Oh, and it's been a little while since I've done the Try New Thing weekend. This weekend, I was going to save it for tomorrow, but let's face it, I hadn't called the, you're at the vet for the puppy checkup. Oh, I hope everything's all right. What was I going to say? This week's offering is BSC Protein Water Green Apple flavor. I can't really see it because of the light, but it doesn't matter. Not a sponsor, although if they want to reach out, feel free.
We heard the disturbing texts about Karen Reid that he sent to friends, family members, and coworkers. There's an internal investigation by state police, and we know there's an ongoing federal investigation into how this case was handled. Proctor was at his home in Canton this afternoon when the Karen Reid case ended in a mistrial. We caught up with him just a few moments ago to ask him his thoughts on the outcome of the case.
Trooper Proctor, Kathy Curran from NBC 10. We'd like to ask you some questions.
They're on the public. Are you serious right now?
Impacted the outcome of the trial?
Get off of our lawn. Right?
I'm not on your lawn. I'm on the street. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I fully support my husband. Karen Reid.
I'm sure you do.
You support your husband?
And you heard it there. His wife fully supports him and called Karen Reid a murderer.
I mean, don't get me wrong. What else could she really say? Oh yeah, I was happy to support the fact that my husband got up on the stand, had to read out the fact that he sent someone a text message saying that he was looking for nudes of someone that he knew and was investigating, and that, you know, more than likely than not, he perjured himself, and I think that he was going to potentially put an innocent woman behind bars. No, she was always going to come out swinging saying, I support my husband 100%. Because she probably has to believe that at this point. For the sake of her marriage. Little Proctor misses.
Testimony in the case showed Proctor was familiar with witnesses in this case. We reached out to state police about Proctor's current status with the department. They told us he's still employed and had no further comment at this time. Kathy Curran, NBC 10 investigators.
Okay, well, I mean, I can't say that I'm shocked by that. The whole "get off my lawn," I think they really should have. That wasn't a great look, especially given that, you know, they weren't actually on the. Apparently, she was calling Karen Reid supporters workplaces to get them fired. She probably knows what her husband's like. Well, she's probably just as bad as him, frankly. I mean, unless you're... I mean, in those sorts of situations, one of two things happens. You either become indoctrinated with the individual and it turns into a version of Stockholm Syndrome, or... Oh, shit. I just lost the earbud off my earbud. God damn it. Or you're just in denial for hours upon end, so... Or you are just that much of a horrible person that you accept the situation and roll with the punches, so... But anyway, alright, let's have a look at Paul O'Keefe.
My first question is obvious, just how are you doing? How's your family doing?
I mean, we're
Let
doing
me see
all
if I can
right.
boost the audio on this, because this is terrible audio. Super dark mode, no. Dark reader, no. Shit. Thought I had the extensions turned on. 1 second, sorry, peeps. Oh, you know, I'll just play it while I
In there,
mess around with
it's
it.
been a long, painful 2.5 years. And I mean, with the mistrial that happened the other day, obviously it wasn't ideal, but if we have to do it again, we'll do it again. So we're ready to go.
Did you, prior to jury deliberations, ever think a mistrial was even possible?
I kept everything was on the table, I guess, but obviously hoping and
Excuse me.
confident that we were going to get the conviction that we were looking for. So as far as a mistrial, yes, it's something we didn't want, obviously, but you know, it's just a bump in the road, and like I said, we'll do it again. We'll do it as many times as we have to.
You'll be back in court every day for another long trial.
Absolutely.
How are your parents?
They're doing all right. That's more of my concern, is that they have to go through this again. I mean, I'll do it 10 more times if I have to, but I hate the fact that they have to go through this all again. We don't know where it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. But I mean, overall, they're doing okay.
Mm-hmm. And they have John's kids now too, or your sister's kids.
Yeah. So yeah, they're living in my brother's house in Canton. You know, raising my niece and nephew, who are 16 and 13. You know, I wanted them to come down here and live with us, but you know, my niece didn't want to leave Canton, didn't want to leave her friends, didn't want to leave her house, and kind of hard to force a kid who's been through as much as they've been through to kind of shake up their world, you know, for, I guess, a third time.
Yeah, I mean, can you just talk about Kaylee and Patrick? I mean, they, you know, because we didn't put them on camera or anything, of course, during the trial, I had a lot of people ask me, like, what were they like? And they seemed like, for a reason, very, very strong kids.
They're great kids, they're strong kids, they're resilient kids. They have every excuse in the world not to be good kids. You know, my niece Kaylee, super strong. When asked if she wanted to testify, we told them they didn't have to, and she said absolutely she wants to. You know, she wanted her voice heard, her story heard. Wanted people to listen to her. She felt like because she was, you know, 14 at the time, that no one wanted to listen to her. So she was strong and insisted on doing it. And my nephew was, you know, he wanted to support her. So he said, if she does it, I'll do it. So I'm proud of them both for doing what they did.
Yeah. Yeah, they were really strong when they got on the stand. It was amazing. Do you feel comfortable telling me, just from all that you've learned over the last 2.5 years, like what you think happened that night?
Oh, we know what happened. We know that Johnny and Karen were arguing. It was kind of towards the end of their relationship. Things weren't well. You know, they were drinking and arguing and fighting, and you know, in an intoxicated state of rage and jealousy, she just decided that she was going to do something about it, and you know, put the car in reverse and ran him down and left him there to die. And
holy fuck balls. How does he know this? Presumably because that's what the police officers have been in his ear telling him for the last 2 years. And as I said to Ian, I think that's probably what he latched onto in order to get past his own grief. And I think that after a significant period of time, and when he actually gets some therapy, he may actually look back on this and go, holy shit, I was a retard. Sounds like I had his mind made up ahead of time. Yeah. Better hope he doesn't sue her ass into oblivion for defamation. Wouldn't be able to at this point. If it comes back and she's acquitted or something like that, he's still got a defense of honest belief, because he's honestly of the belief that she did it. Can't wait till the interview gets looked over by those analysing guys. I can't wait until this interview winds up as an exhibit in the retrial. The way that he's so matter-of-fact and the way that he's so sure about exactly what happened, and not to mention the fact that, oh, I don't know, wait until he talks about Jackson and Yannetti. Oh, God, no spoilers, but thank you.
We figured it out as soon as she left the house that day when she came over. We didn't talk to any investigators, state police, nobody. You know, my mother had said, do you think she had something to do with this? And I said, we're not going to think like that. Went outside to the driveway to look at her car, and her car was gone.
Why would this interview be admissible? That's your reason right there, because he's making statements of fact about what... So they could use this as prior statements or something to impeach Paul if they decide to get him up on the stand. Not that I think that it'll strictly be necessary, but I'd be asking him questions as to why he's so matter-of-fact, what information was provided to him and at what point during the investigation. Because if, I don't know, the Alberts or the McCabe's or, hell, even, what was her name, Kerry? If any of them have passed on any of the information from Proctor within the first day or so, you can understand exactly why he would have, like, jumped on the bandwagon and stuck to it. Memories and flashbacks, even after she knew it wasn't him, she still could only remember his face because it's what was told and believed for the longest time. Oh, you're talking about, the Avery case. I was like, oh, hang on, wait. Still don't get that after all the evidence he can still think this way. Surely he must have some doubts. I think at this point it would probably devastate him and cause a breakdown for him to have to admit that his belief was wrong. And that's probably why he's like this, frankly.
It was a blizzard. I knew what the driving conditions were like coming from the hospital to Canton. And I knew that they were going back to Dighton, which was a much further drive. So we put it together pretty quickly.
I was going to ask you that next. So you took the words out of my mouth. It was like, when did you realize? It was literally that morning.
Yeah, so I would say early afternoon when they came back to the house. You know, she wanted to come over and see the kids. Didn't really interact with them at all. Was there for probably a total of 30 minutes. Didn't say much or anything. And half of her time was upstairs gathering her things. Then my wife spoke to her on the phone on their way back to Dighton. And she told my wife that just have to remember the bad times. And I don't think I'm ever going to talk to you guys again.
Was that phone call what made you sure of what had happened?
Wait, what?
To Dighton, and
did he just say what I think he just said?
She told my wife that just have to remember the bad times, and
just have to remember the bad times. What the
I don't think I'm ever going to talk to you guys again.
Was that phone call what made you sure of what had happened?
Absolutely, yeah. We already, like I said, we put the pieces together on our own, and that just really solidified it. You know, why would somebody say that? Why would someone say, you know, if you didn't do anything, why would you say you're never going to talk to us again? Or why do you have to remember the bad times? Almost like justifying what she did.
Right. How would you have expected her to act in that situation?
I don't know. Probably because there's any number of people that do that to get over grief. Like, this is some messed up shit. Genuinely think they've been brainwashed and blinded by grief and anger. Yeah. She's grieving and dealing with a hangover, but let's judge someone based on that.
If she hadn't done something.
More sad, empathetic, sympathetic, but like I said, when she was at the house, she barely said a word. You know, she wanted to be there for the kids. My nephew came home. My niece was already home by the time she got there and her family arrived. And I sat down, my nephew in the other room, she sat right next to him. I explained to him that JJ's, you know, something happened and he's no longer with us. She didn't say a word. And right after that, she went upstairs and started gathering her belongings, and the next thing you know, they were gone.
And that's what you're basing it off of. You're a piece of shit. They're already judging us and now they want her with them. Seriously, they're not a smart family thinking they've solved what happened all by themselves. Yeah, well. If they were having difficulties in their relationship, or more to the point, maybe she didn't feel comfortable in the scenario, given that the kids, oh, I don't know, already lost their parents. Now they've lost their uncle who was taking care of them. Like, she just saw his brother covered in blood in the snow and supposed to be upbeat and talkative. Apparently.
God. Yeah, it's hard. It's strange behavior.
Very strange. Yep.
No, it's really not.
When did the whole narrative of her version of events become known to you?
Well, if you remember her first arraignment in Stoughton District Court,
Yeah.
her attorney, David Unetti, had said this is a tragic accident. His client had no criminal intent. And then, you know, fast forward to, I guess, when Alan Jackson came on board. And, you know, they teamed up with a blogger to get their story that they concocted and put together and flooded out there. And people are only hearing one side of the story and coming to conclusions before actual evidence in the trial.
Bullshit. Bull fucking shit. Because I know none of it. I am aware of the name Turtle Boy. Know nothing about him. None of the coverage, nothing. I watched the trial and came to a legal conclusion based on my own opinion. The actual evidence at the trial showed that he couldn't have been hit by the car like that. Did he just say, come to conclusion without evidence, dude? You just said what you did. Mm-hmm.
Trial had actually begun. So a lot of the public was misinformed, you know, because they were only getting one side of the story. And, you know, we didn't come out and tell our side of the story or, you know, what we thought or knew happened. We've kept a low profile and have been silent through this whole ordeal. But, you know, now it's time. You know, now it's time for people to understand the truth. And, you know, the jurors, we thank them. They did a great job. They put in a lot of hours, paid a lot of attention, worked hard. Unfortunately, they weren't able to come to, you know, a consensus as far as a verdict goes. But, you know, we have another chance at it. And, you know, hopefully the jury that we get for the second time around will, you know, we'll see things more clearly.
So, just so I'm clear.
Yeah.
You think this all started when Alan Jackson showed up? And Karen, throughout the course of this trial, you think she knows what she did?
She knows exactly what she did. And she's trying to buy and lie her way out of this, you know, refusing to take accountability for her actions. Not only that, but pointing the finger and blaming innocent people.
Yeah, talk to me about that. I mean, because the thing is, it's the...
I need to put that video up of the guy with the mind blown with the stars and the universe and innocent people. Multiple times we watched them, you watched them, perjure themselves on the stand. No, I can't remember. I honestly think that at this point that if he's not, I don't think he can be helped. I think that he has his head so far up his ass because he's dealing with his own trauma that he has to believe the lie at this point.
Story on the defense's side is not just, oh, she didn't do it. It's she didn't do it and all these other people did.
Yeah, I mean, she's pointing the finger at everybody. Everyone's lying except for her, according to her. I think we had 67 witnesses testify.
68.
68, I'm sorry,
That's
testify.
all right.
And according to them, they're all lying and they're not credible, and, you know, which, I mean, there's first responders that were just doing their job that day.
Again, crock of shit, because they're not just first responders. They're individuals that knew the family well and that have been proven on the stand to have lied. What a shame the FBI specialists are just so wrong. They said it was impossible for him to have been hit by a car and thrown 30 meters. I'm assuming that Paul was one of the kids that was left behind, given that he can't understand basic physics. You can't be sideswiped by a car and flung 30 feet into the air. Like he's married to the lie and just knows that's what happened, apparently. What evidence does he have that we haven't heard? None. Because the only evidence, well, I mean, the only thing that he would have heard is whatever has been whispered in his ear. They'll never open their eyes to listen to the truth. Easy to blame one person to lose all their buddies and Peggy's angels. Oh.
McCabe, Kerry Roberts, all they did was pick up the phone and help because she was asking for help.
Really? Because I'm thinking Jen McKay was more worried about the shock and horror.
And according to them, the only one telling the truth is her.
Right. So, I don't even know what to call them. We have a variety of names. The pink people. They turned on all those people first. Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe. But then, how have they treated you guys over the course of the last year and a half?
Well, if you just go back to any video of us walking into court during pre-trial hearings, yelling, screaming, calling us names.
I wonder why.
To this day, I don't know what I did wrong.
Well, they're giving this interview,
I get messages
job
all
one.
the time, whether through Facebook or other ways of communication, you know, telling me that I'm a moron, I'm stupid, and open my eyes and all this stuff. But I just...
See, and the annoying thing is, because... Can we call the KR haters KRDS, similar to TDS, sold by touching grass, staying off the internet for up to 48 hours? I think it'd take significantly longer than 48 hours. A reporter in her shoes need to go back to reporting the weather. The problem that I have here is that I have no idea how O'Keefe's parents have reacted amongst all this, because I haven't seen any interviews with them or anything like that. But what's worse is that he's painting them as believing all of this in exactly the same way. And look, that may well be the case. It may well be that they're all as brainwashed as it. Is he John's brother and also part of the police force too? I have no idea if he's part of the police force. This is John's brother. I know that he's very buddy-buddy with the Alberts and the McCabe's. I just... kind of want to smash. I kind of want to punch him in the eye and see whether or not it matches up with the vehicle. You know.
I ignore those. I don't really care what people say to me because this isn't about me. This is about my brother. And I like to think I know a little bit more of what's going on in the case than people that are just reading stuff on the internet.
Okay, 1, fuck you. 2, that's some bullshit, because clearly the extraneous material is what's messing up your head, you dipshit. fuck me sideways.
And there's been things said about me, accusations about me, all types of things that just aren't true. But again, I just brush it off because this isn't about me.
So if these people buy into this big conspiracy, right, that Brian Albert's a murderer or whoever, okay, if they buy into that, why are they turning on you guys? Has that ever made sense to you?
Because we
I
don't
can answer that one. Because he's a dipshit.
believe in a crazy conspiracy theory that holds no merit, no evidence. I mean, we know these people. I mean, Jen McCabe has been a family friend of ours. She was friends with my sister. We've known her for over 10 years. She was very helpful with, you know, picking Kaylee up to and fro when he took over raising the kids. Kerry Roberts we've known for a very, very long time, right? And at the time, she didn't really know Jen McCabe or any of the McCabes or Alberts. And her testimony corroborated everything that Jen said, and the defense, I think, was scared of her and didn't even want to ask her any questions. They just wanted her off the stand.
No. Dude, were you even watching the what? The fact that the defense was the only side referring to him as Officer O'Keefe, and the Commonwealth didn't even give that man the respect, but they're on the side of the truth. Kerry wasn't there for half the events. Nope.
I guess the negative or hate that's directed towards me, mostly me and my mother, is because we support these people who are being falsely accused of something they didn't do, right?
Why did I not hear that? Anyway, DeOrk dropping... Oh, hang on, it's because I had the button pressed. DeOrk dropping 5 Aussie Overlawd memberships. Thank you so much, buddy. Very much appreciate that. Congrats to Megan McCarthy, Giovanni's Pikachu, Louis G, D-Ways, Lady Star. Was he at the same court case that we're all watching? Apparently not. Sounds like he wanted Karen but was butthurt. That's always a possibility. When I watch his interview, the more my blood pressure goes up. Sorry about that.
Right? And their lives have been turned upside down and partially ruined. You know, Colin Albert, who was a 17-year-old kid at the time, his life has been turned upside down and ruined. I've gotten to know the Alberts through all this, and they're all good people.
I'm going to let that one go.
So just because we don't believe in a crazy conspiracy theory and we believe that Karen Reed is guilty of killing my brother, you know, they take it on us.
Doesn't it feel sometimes like...
No, it's because at this point it isn't a conspiracy theory. It's at this point, it's because all of the evidence in the case says otherwise.
like your brother's forgotten in all of this?
Absolutely. All the time. It's turned into the Karen Reed show. You know,
well,
she
it's her trial.
walks through a crowd that cheers her on.
Paul, let's get one thing very freaking clear. Because a lot of people don't seem to understand this when there's a criminal trial. A criminal trial is not about the victim. And I know that that's harsh. I know that can be heartless to say. Because justice and revenge are not the same thing. You're a wanker.
And she goes out in public, takes pictures, signs autographs. She's just living her life like nothing's ever happened. And meanwhile, my brother's been gone for almost 2.5 years. And I just want people to go back to who the victim is in this. It's not her. It's my brother.
What do you want people to know about John? You call him Johnny. Kids call him JJ.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my older brother. So, I mean, generous, loyal. Sometimes a pain in the ass to me. I'm sorry, pain in the butt to me.
You can say pain in the ass.
You know, just because he was my older brother, but he just was there if you needed him, took care of the people that he loved, good-hearted guy who didn't deserve any of this. You know, he rearranged and uprooted his life, went from a single the bachelor lifestyle living in Boston to moving into instant dad role. And you know,
and he was clearly a better person than you. And you know what? I feel icky for saying that. And I get it. You are blinded by grief. My heart goes out to you for the loss of your brother. But this is not okay. Cannot understand Karen's grief and instead believes her to be guilty. People he should be maddest out of the investigators for the Commonwealth for the case they presented. Yeah, absolutely. This is a lot of misplaced rage and anger, frankly.
Something that obviously everyone admires him the most for, and I do too. You know, it wasn't easy for him at the beginning, but you know, he learned to figure it out, and you know, we all helped as much as we could without getting in the way. Just an overall good guy.
And I assume he chose to do that, right? I mean, your sister's situation is unimaginable.
Yeah, so then, well, after my brother-in-law passed away, we had to figure out, all right, what do we do? And at the time, my wife and I were like, all right, we'll take them in. At the time, we had a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old. So we were trying to figure out how are we gonna do this? Our house was small. We didn't really want to live in the house that they both passed away in, but we were trying to figure it out the best way possible. And then Johnny just stepped up one day and just said, I got it.
Wow.
And then pretty much moved in the next day and took it from there for 8 years.
So there's a reason that's why so many people described that that's what they admired about him.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
stepped up.
a selfless act, changing your life, you know, to take care of his family and people he loved. Yeah, I mean, that's him in a nutshell.
I know I asked you how your mom's doing already or how your parents are doing, but I just can't imagine for her losing 2 kids.
Yeah.
Is she like a different person now?
She's a strong woman, I'll give her that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unimaginable, you know, just to lose them in the ways that she did. You know, my sister suffering for 5.5 months with brain cancer.
Yeah.
But at least had the opportunity to say goodbye, and then, you know, with my brother just being taken from us so quickly and senselessly, I don't know, somehow she keeps it all together. My father, quiet, kind of keeps to himself. But I mean, overall, what they've gone through it's unfair.
Yeah.
It's unimaginable, but they're strong and they keep moving forward, and just same thing, they do what they have to do to take care of their family.
I have to ask you, we got ushered out of the courtroom pretty quickly on Monday. You had a little exchange with Karen. Do you mind? What happened there?
Oh, did he just?
So, throughout the trial, she likes to turn and look at me and smirk. She's never once made eye contact with my wife, Erin. So when the mistrial was announced, she turned and looked right at Erin and gave her a smirk, and then went over and hugging and celebrating to some extent. I just said,
You don't think maybe that's because, oh, hang on, these pair have said that I was guilty the entire time, despite the fact that that evidence has been produced to the opposite, and you've been sitting there staring me down, so hey, when it comes to a mistrial, I'm going to give you a smirk? Kind of feel like it was warranted. Not going to lie. She didn't look at them? Okay, well, there you go. So he's lying through his teeth. She turned and smiled at her family and hugged them. Well, I can honestly say, even if she did smirk at him, I'd understand it.
you know, you're not done yet.
Did she say something back?
No, but I mean, it was an emotional day, emotional moment. Being in that courtroom, sitting so closely, and that's something that she wanted.
Yeah, can you talk about that? I mean, the courtroom switch, we know all the legal reasons why it happened, but you guys were like arm's length from her for the entire trial.
Yep. I guess after a while you just got used to it, but yeah, showing up every day, sitting that close to the person that took my brother away from us, it was not easy. It took a lot to not say anything, but again, it wasn't about me. We were there for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to get justice for Johnny.
What did Adam and Laura say to you guys afterwards?
That's a crock of shit, because if it was actually about justice, you'd be hammering on the Commonwealth's door right now, because they are the ones then that would have failed you the most. So saying that it's about justice, and I presume he's not going to have a bad thing to say against Lally or any of the prosecution. So you're full of shit, man. Just are.
Like what? Looking ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they were disappointed in the outcome, but like Adam said, he goes, we're just going to do it again. He goes, I'll start tomorrow. So they're confident. They have the truth on their side. Unfortunately, if you pay high-powered attorneys enough and put enough lies out there, you start influencing people to the point where there's just no turning back. I think people just don't want to admit that they were wrong or duped.
And I personally feel like that's a little bit of self-projection there. Taylor would have gone to Hulk and attacked Karen if the jury come back with a not guilty verdict, do you reckon?
But, they're confident, and we're going to go at it again.
He being Adam, has been, like, he's kept to himself a lot, similar to you guys over the course of this.
Yep.
Do you think that's been hard?
I'm sure it's been extremely hard on him. He's not the type that looks at social media or pays attention to any of that stuff. He just keeps his head down and does his job. He's not the flashy attorney that wants to be on camera all the time and have press conferences on the stairs like some people. He's just a hard-working, I guess nose to the grindstone kind of guy, and just does his job. It's a very difficult job, but he's never once really complained about it, to us anyway.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard on him. I know it's hard on Laura. I know it's been hard on everyone who's been involved in this, but everyone's determined that we're just going to do it again.
Has your circle of, like, the people who support you guys, has it grown? Has it gotten smaller over the course of all the noise outside of this?
So for me personally, I've kept my...
Yeah, she's pissed that he could afford good lawyers, which is ironic given that she's the one that paid for him when he engaged in a drunk driving accident. He obviously didn't look at Twitter, otherwise he would have changed his strategy.
My circle smaller. People that you were friends with or haven't seen in a while, you just don't know where their mind's at.
Yeah.
What they believe. So we've been forced to become very kind of like defensive, not as outgoing as we normally would be.
No shit, I'm not exactly shocked
but
by
I think
that.
recently I think we're gaining some more support. I think people have been afraid, to show up to court and, I guess, counter-protest to the people that are outside. I think people have been in fear, but I think that's starting to turn. I think people want justice. They don't want this influence.
Yeah, we do want justice, which is why she deserves an acquittal based on what the Commonwealth provided.
Of, social media and public perception based off of lies to win or to take control over this.
Do you want people to show up with
We'll take all the support we can get. Yeah, no, we're not going to turn anybody away. I mean, every time we go to court, we're kind of portrayed as the bad guys.
Yeah.
And at the end.
See, the funny thing is, and I agree with you, you shouldn't be. John's parents shouldn't be. It was how you acted throughout the trial and the fact that you're giving interviews like this. If you'd kept your fucking mouth shut, no one would be seeing you as a bad guy. Yeah, you had to give evidence. Yes, your brother was killed. It's a trial for a woman who allegedly killed him. And there's no evidence showing that she did. You and your family could have been completely kept isolated from all of the, like, the hate, the vitriol, the vilification, all that sort of stuff. You're the one that put yourself into it. You're the one that stepped your foot in it. No one will become new supporters of the Commonwealth after what came out in the trial. Lost support during this when you had people on the fence. No, look, I think that there are a certain level of nut jobs out there that will flock, that will be anti-Karen Reid or whatever else, because, you know, some people just like stirring up shit. Some people like trolling. Some people are genuinely just that batshit crazy. Just don't understand how they can retry this. The evidence isn't going to change. No, the evidence isn't going to change. And as I've said previously, ordinarily a retrial favors the prosecution because they know what the defense is going to put on. They know what witnesses they're going to call. They know what they have to counter. They know what they have to do a better job at. This isn't going to be one of those situations. Paul's the one who put his crotch on the camera view day after day. Well, he's the one that shows where to sit exactly. So,
end of the day, it's, you know, we lost a loved one.
Yeah, you did.
But somehow we're still, I guess, vilified for just not believing in it.
Jesus Christ, he even used the same wording I did. It's not that you're being vilified for not believing a crazy conspiracy theory. You're being vilified for not understanding exactly what happened in that trial. You're supposed to want justice for your brother's killer. Sorry, you're supposed to want justice against your brother's killer. Not be blinded to the fact that you assume it is one person. Especially with all the shit that came out during that trial. True Crime Overtime with Rosie. Hello, welcome to Legal Intern. Believes a conspiracy theory that the FBI are in cahoots with the defense. That's insane.
Crazy conspiracy.
Yeah. On that note, was it hard for you at all? I mean, there were certainly some moments in the case where there were weak spots exposed, right? Like, I think about the solo cups and Trooper Proctor, who now is facing job consequences as a result of this.
That's one way of putting it. I love how she's also not mentioning the federal investigation. And I swear to God, between the Karen Reid case and the Sandra Birchmore case, when that eventually winds up going to trial, because there's no way in hell they're settling that, I'm hoping that this keeps the feds busy for a while and that the report is nice and thick and detailed as to all the bullshit. The bullshit that these police officers have been doing and that the State Patrol have been doing. Only reason you dump 60 plus witnesses on a jury case like this is to distract them from the reality that you have no evidence. Yep. Give us Chloe. I still want to... I would very much want a report done with, like, ultrasound or something on that basement floor. And preferably the pool. Just to see if there's, I don't know, anything down there.
What was it like for you to listen to those moments that weren't necessarily benefiting the state's case?
You mean where it
Well,
torpedoed
as far
shit?
as at the very early stages, I mean, a crime scene during a blizzard
Yeah.
can't be an easy thing to navigate, and yet, you know, they found evidence. They found a sneaker. They found
After the
pieces
fact.
of taillight. You know, obviously you're not going to see everything under a couple feet of snow.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they improvised the best they could. You know, every investigation is going to be kind of scrutinized to some degree. But, you know, they did what they had to do with what they had. And with the weather conditions being what they were, they just, like I said, had to improvise and do the best they could. As far as, you know, Michael Proctor's comments, I mean, he even said, too, they were unprofessional. Which
they were more than unprofessional.
But, you know, this guy, his life's been ruined, you know?
There's a reason that Proctor is being... Oh, my God! You're justifying Proctor's actions? Can't justify the fucking solo cups even if you're blinded by grief. No, it's worse than that. He's actually saying, oh, you know, it was hard for him, his life's been ruined, all this. Good! He was a piece of shit that clearly fucked up an investigation.
Getting his personal cell phone, which was something that should never have happened.
Excuse me? Excuse me? So what you're saying is that his comments on an official investigation that were being provided to a third party that should never have happened, should not have been introduced as evidence. Wow. See, and I was trying to have some sympathy for the guy as well. Just wow.
Josh Levy should never have been intervened in this. An FBI investigation was launched due to cherry-picked evidence that was, or pieces of discovery that was only provided.
You mean like the indictment that happened because the prosecution was able to put it before a grand jury and cherry-pick things? Yeah, that works both ways, dipshit.
By the defense. Like, this is
It's pretty
unheard
unprecedented.
To not even speak to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office, to not speak to the Mass Police to see what they have for discovery and evidence. Just to intervene himself in that way, and which casted, you know, a shadow of doubt on the investigation. So I think he has a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Yeah, do you get updates on that?
I do not. I do plan on trying to sit down with him at some point.
Yeah.
Whether I get a knock on the door, I sent him an email, but I'm sure I won't get a response. But if I have to go knock on the door and ask for a sit down, that's what I'll do.
Is there anything I haven't asked you about that you want to make sure people know?
In all this, I just want people to remember the actual victim. I think I mentioned it before that it's not the Karen Reed show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And in this instance, there's more than one victim. The FBI has bigger dicks in this case, Paul. Yeah. Because the FBI investigation is not just about the Karen Reed case at this point. It is about multiple cases of police misconduct. With multiple murder cases, not just your brother's. Holy fuck. And that there shouldn't have been any federal investigation into the actions and the conduct. Jesus Christ on a cracker.
This is about a good man whose life was taken way too soon, and for selfish reasons, and has created a void in our life that was already an enormous void, but just made it even that much bigger. And I just want people to remember him and want him to get the justice he deserves and that we deserve. Mm-hmm. And that's Karen Reed going to prison.
He insinuates that the information only came out in discovery and that this is the cause for the federal investigation. Yeah, no, the federal investigation, my understanding is, was ongoing about 12 months before John died. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What an absolute crock of shit. When was that? Oh, 10 months ago. Okay. Why did Brian Albert, Colin Albert, and Brian Higgins beat him to death for senseless reasons? Selfish, senseless reasons that left a hole in his family's heart. Funny thing is, the way that he phrased it, I didn't have an issue with anything that he really said towards the end, because all of that is just as applicable to the McAlberts, as we're calling them. I cannot, for the life of me, understand how somebody can be that stupid, that blinded, because there is grief, there is blinded by grief, there is blinded by rage, and then there is willful ignorance. This is the interview people claim she admitted to hitting him. Oh, is it? Oh, that might actually help. This is their new plan, to blitz the media, do a PR campaign with sympathetic characters. Glared at Karen throughout the whole trial. She didn't look at him at any point that I saw, and I saw the whole trial. I believe the evidence, not the media. She should be asking that question, not about Karen. Yep. All right, let's have a look at this then.
Free Karen Read! Free Karen Read! Free Karen Read!
Oh, I'm gonna drop the
Outside
audio.
this courthouse in Canton, Massachusetts, supporters swarmed around Karen Read, charged with murder in the January 2022 death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Read has strenuously denied the allegations.
Wonder why. If John went inside the Albert's home and connected to the Wi-Fi, wouldn't there be some forensics on his phone, movements, internet searches? Didn't work for Amber Heard, it's not going to work for him.
I did not kill John O'Keefe. I've never harmed a hair on John O'Keefe's head.
Her defense, bare-knuckled and bold, is making national headlines. Her lawyers alleging in court documents that a fellow police officer was involved in O'Keefe's death and colluded with other people in a cover-up.
You're alleging that law enforcement officials in this state committed murder and that they're covering it up. Why would they want to be involved in this?
Because he's dead. I think things went too far. It was late. There was alcohol involved, but they're all family. And there's many of them involved.
After posting bail, Read has spent much of the past 18 months in and out of court awaiting a trial date.
And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
Prosecutors allege that Read hit O'Keefe with her car after getting into an argument earlier in the day, leaving him to...
Okay, so this is... alleging there's a viable hypothesis with the evidence at hand. See, this is the first time I'm hearing about this. What? When did she say this? And why was this not brought up at trial?
to die in the middle of a snowstorm in January 2022. But Reed says she had no reason to harm her boyfriend.
I would call him the patron saint of Canton. He was just very selfless, frugal, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to find...
Does frugal mean the same thing in America that it does in Australia? Because I would wonder why the hell it would matter that he's frugal.
anyone that didn't care for John.
The couple first dated in their 20s and reconnected more than a decade later in the middle of the pandemic.
So how did you meet up again?
He had reached out to me on Facebook and he said, "Hey, blast from the past, how's things?" And when I saw his picture, his profile picture was with several young children, and then it triggered my memory that his sister and his sister's husband had passed away. And he told me, yeah, I have the kids now. I admired that. I thought that was amazing.
Soon, Reed says she became part of the family, often sleeping over at O'Keefe's house and helping take care of the kids.
He would go to work and I would stay with his niece and nephew. All of the breaks that the kids had, we did something.
But their relationship also had its struggles. Reeve says O'Keefe had been relying more on her to take care of the kids, and that he criticized some of the decisions she made with them.
We had an argument on New Year's Eve. We were away on vacation, and he became incoherently drunk. And I ended up ringing in the new year with his niece and nephew. John didn't come back to our room till after 3 a.m. So that was rough. I felt very much taken advantage of. He apologized profusely for what happened on New Year's Eve, and he said, if you can't get over it, then you need to spend some time at yours. I can't keep apologizing. I don't want to keep rehashing this.
A few weeks later, they were invited to meet up with some friends at the Waterfall Bar in Canton. And there, they ran into Brian Albert, a fellow Boston police officer who...
Jesus, Brian looks creepy there too, doesn't he? I can see why he grew out the mustache for the trial.
Reed says O'Keefe looked up to. Albert had led the city's gang unit before commanding the Fugitive Apprehension Team. It was the elite squad responsible for taking down some of the city's most dangerous criminals and featured in the 2013 TNT show, Boston's Finest.
1 minute we're walking around, everything's fine, and then 1 minute it's not fine.
Both times I met Brian Albert, he seemed like the type of person that you'd be surprised he's out socially because he doesn't seem like he ever wants to be there.
But at the bar, Reed says there was an invitation to continue hanging out at Albert's home.
I said, can we make sure we're welcome here? Nobody extended the invite to me. I didn't hear the invite extended to you.
They drive to the Albert's house. What happens next is disputed.
So I pull at the foot of the driveway. It's snowing. John has no coat on. It's windy. So I drop him off. He goes up the driveway and approaches the side door. And as I see him approach the door, I look down at my phone.
Reed says after about 10 minutes of waiting in her car, she became irritated that O'Keefe still hadn't gotten in touch with her. And she drove back to his home where she continued calling him before, she says, she fell asleep around 1:30 in the morning. She then says she woke up before 5 a.m. He still wasn't home. She then started canvassing the neighborhood.
Just gonna drive around in the 2 square miles that we spent the preceding night.
After 20 minutes of unsuccessful searching, she called John's friend, Carrie Roberts, and Jennifer McCabe, Brian Albert's sister-in-law, who was also at his house the night before. The 3 women together now headed to Albert's home.
How soon was it when you pulled in there that you saw John's body?
Immediately. And what struck me when I saw him
was
his mouth was open a little bit and his eyes were shut and he had spots of blood in different areas on his face.
Look, that would make a little bit of sense because that would explain the whole Jen McCabe saying, you're coming with me, and trying to get her in a separate car to John. Like, clearly they didn't like her. And yeah.
O'Keefe was taken to the hospital and pronounced dead. He died from blunt force trauma and hypothermia.
Allegedly.
And it wasn't long before Reed became the #1 suspect.
Less than 16 hours, according to Proctor.
Authorities say they had noticed a cracked taillight after they seized her car.
I had told both Jen and Carrie that I cracked my taillight. I said I just hit my car on top of everything, but I didn't look at the damage. And both women said, it's cracked, it's cracked. Calm down, you cracked your taillight. You're okay, let's go look for John.
But according to police statements, Jennifer McCabe told authorities that while they were looking for O'Keefe, Reed stated, could I have hit him? Did I hit him?
I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Wow, that was a really bad accent, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure that's how Jen McCabe said it on the stand, didn't she? I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Interesting how all of a sudden, back in the original police reports, it was, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Rest of stuff that John O'Keefe was investigating a drug ring and Colin was involved high up. Maybe they took it out of him because of that. Yeah, that was a running theory for a while. I'm still not necessarily dissuaded about that. Chloe, I bit him, I bit him, I bit him. Jesus Christ.
And when O'Keefe's body was discovered, first responders who arrived on the scene say they overheard Reed make other statements.
Firefighter said That you said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
I said, I hit him. It was preceded by a did and proceeded by a question mark. What I thought could have happened was that did I incapacitate him unwittingly, somehow, and then in his drunkenness, passed out?
When you walked out of the bar, how many drinks had you had?
I had had probably about 4.
The Commonwealth says that you had 9 drinks that night. That's what the prosecution says.
I don't believe they're saying I wasn't in my right mind.
Well, they were saying you were intoxicated. Is it possible that you might have hit him unwittingly in your admittedly very large SUV?
No, not possible.
3 days after O'Keefe was found dead, investigators arrested Reed for manslaughter. She was eventually indicted on second-degree murder. Investigators reported they found fragments of broken glass.
Hey, Paige. Probably go back to the start just simply because we did the Paul O'Keefe interview. So that's the bit that people latched onto, that she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Yeah. And look, you know what? As bad as it sounds, aside from the fact that it does sound like certain first responders were getting their stories straight at certain points, it may well be just that their memory was faulty, or that certain individuals' memories may have been faulty, and that it's being and that there's confirmation bias because other people are saying the exact same thing. Did you see Paul interview 2.0? There was a second one? There was another interview with Paul? Hang on, wait, what? Two days ago, 19 hours ago. There was another one yesterday. No shit. Do you know who it was with? Because we watched the CBS Boston one. Um, 56 minutes ago. It's only a 4-minute clip. Okay. Maybe it's that one? Although, 4 minutes, you'd think it wouldn't be posted to something to like TikTok, would you? He's got a different top on. WCVW. WCV... Wait, was it? WCVB. Thank you.
Be
Okay. All right, well, I'll play that one after this.
On the rear bumper on Reed's vehicle, and that a broken cocktail glass was found by what appeared to be patches of blood near O'Keefe's body.
The victim, Mr. O'Keefe, is last observed on surveillance video with a cocktail glass in his right hand. Same arm that's injured, the same type of glass that is then recovered from the bumper of the defendant's car.
The bit that people latch onto isn't I hit him, I hit him, I hit him in the trial. It's that she says in the interview she wondered if she could have incapacitated him. Okay. And there was something Lally just said there.
It's injured, the same type of glass that is then recovered from the bumper of the defendant.
Okay, no, I misheard. Never mind.
It's called.
In court documents, the prosecution also claims that Reed's blood alcohol level could have been between 0.13 and 0.29%, above the legal limit of 0.08. In addition, they say pieces of Reed's taillight were found on the scene the day O'Keefe's body was discovered. More fragments of that taillight were found the following week, according to Canton police reports, after the snow melted, which revealed more at the scene. But Reed's attorney, Alan Jackson, has a different theory about how those fragments of taillight got there.
Those pieces of taillight were placed there after the fact.
You're saying evidence was planted?
The pieces of taillight were planted after the fact.
What does the defense believe actually happened to John after Karen dropped him off?
I think he walked into the house. I think he was confronted, was likely brought down to the basement. I think that confrontation got physical, and he was beaten. He was beaten to a point of unconsciousness.
Jackson argues that the autopsy photos of O'Keefe support his theory and not the prosecution's claim.
Looks like he's been in a fist fight and he's been beaten. He's got some defensive wound bruises on the backs of his hand. He's got this massive laceration on the back of his head, a big giant gash, about 2.5 inches, exactly lateral, going from left to right. 2 black eyes, cut over his right eye, cut over his nose. This was a...
Even listening to that, the description of the injuries to John's body, you're not going to see many of any of those from being hit in the face by a car. Oh, I'm sorry. His head was just like perfectly perpendicular so that there was a vertical cut. What the fuck?
A cover-up that John was murdered inside that house. His body was placed outside.
But in a statement to ABC News, the prosecution says there was no conspiracy or cover-up. Such claims have been systematically refuted by evidence submitted to Norfolk Superior Court.
By who? By yourself on the basis of Proctor, who is the one that is alleged to have done the wrong things, and who is now subject to a federal investigation and has been removed from his position on the force, or will soon be in the next few days. Yeah, I call bullshit.
The prosecution also said that, according to O'Keefe's cell phone GPS records and 11 witness statements, O'Keefe never entered Albert's home, and that a medical examiner found no signs of Mr. O'Keefe being involved in any type of physical altercation.
That's the same medical examiner that determined that an individual self-yeeted by putting a strap around her neck and sitting down against a door, which has now been categorically refuted as being a homicide and not a suicide. So either the medical examiner is a friend of the family, or they're just, you know, coincidentally incompetent.
Or fight.
There was no evidence that Mr. O'Keefe was beaten and left for dead. There was no evidence of any defensive wounds.
ABC News reached out to attorneys for Brian Albert and Jennifer McCabe, but did not hear back by the time of this broadcast. In a previous statement to the Boston Herald, McCabe's attorney said the whole scenario is baseless. Reed is scheduled to appear next in court again in September.
Hi, everyone. Phone tells me at all times that I am in my front lawn. You can't trust GPS. Half of my Uber Eats deliveries get delivered next door because they think that I'm in the house next door. You cannot tell me that GPS is sufficiently accurate, particularly in, oh no, a blizzard. But still, his brain injuries were so severe he wouldn't have made it even if found right away by a hospital and had a craniotomy. Damn. My GPS always says you may just step go while I'm driving. Well, that's probably because you're sitting... Oh, I was going to do that on stream, but no, I'm going to not do that. Basically, any move the Alberts make for 2 years can be used to craft the story of what happened. Potentially, we'll see. All right, so where's this other interview from Paul?
A group of people that are just...
Hang on.
Be a group of people that are just, you know... They're just never going to be convinced, and that's fine. And those are the people that are out there wearing their pink shirts and...
Again, with the self-projection, there's a group of people out there that are never going to be convinced despite the evidence. Okay. Hey, there's 102 of you watching. Hit the like button. Really appreciate it if we could get to 100 likes on the stream, because apparently... Someone said it's like Jeff's focused on 600. Apparently at the 100 and then 400 mark, it triggers YouTube to do certain shit if you get a certain amount of likes. Well, come on, people, you can do it.
Eating and, you know, having a good old time while there's a murder trial going on inside the courthouse.
The brother of John O'Keefe speaking out tonight about Karen Reed and her murder trial, which ended this week with a hung jury. Paul O'Keefe says his family is now done with keeping silent about the case.
Yeah, he spoke one-on-one with News Center 5's David Bieniek, who joins us live outside the courthouse once again in Dedham. David, good evening.
Good evening, Ben. If you watched any of this 2-month-long trial, you saw a lot of Paul O'Keefe. He was directly in front of the courtroom camera, right behind Karen Reed, and the expressions on his face often hinted at what he was thinking. Now he's putting his feelings into words. In 2013, Paul and John O'Keefe lost their sister.
What was that? In 2013? Like, his voice must have cracked or something. Like, I don't know why I'm laughing about that. I just am.
Kristen to a brain tumor, and a few months later, Kristen's husband to a heart attack. And when John moved into their home in Canton and became the guardian of his young niece and nephew, Paul O'Keefe wasn't surprised.
People say, you know, they would take the shirt off their back or do anything for anybody, but not many people don't get a chance to prove that, and he proved all of that.
O'Keefe says he met Karen Reed in 2020, a few months after she and his brother rekindled an old relationship. He says the family became close with Reed, but he wasn't convinced she was the one for his brother.
I mean, I don't know how to describe them, but
so he had issues with her to begin with.
As a long-term relationship working out.
In January of 2022, when his brother was found lying in a snowbank outside a home in Canton, Paul O'Keefe says at first he didn't know what to believe, but he says when he saw his brother's injuries, he immediately thought he'd been hit by a car. And a few hours later, when Reed abruptly left, he became suspicious.
And it just kind of hit me, and I said, wow, yeah, she did do this.
Over the next 2.5 years, O'Keefe watched as Reed and her defense attorneys started talking about an alternative theory that someone else had killed his brother and police were framing her to cover it up.
It's stories, lies.
Not according to the evidence.
You know, innocent people's lives being ruined. You know, I understand a aggressive defense strategy, but this is above and beyond anything ethical.
At the start of each of the 29 days of testimony, Paul O'Keefe led his family into the courtroom. He says he purposely took the same seat just a few feet away from Karen Reed and directly in front of the courtroom camera.
Nobody really wanted that first seat. I'll take the camera on me. But also I wanted Karen to know that I'm here and I'm not going anywhere and I'm going to be here every day.
Paul O'Keefe had known Karen Reed since 2020 when she rekindled an old relationship with his brother John, a Boston police officer. In 2022, Reed was charged with killing John O'Keefe by backing into him with her SUV. And during the trial, Paul O'Keefe says he watched Reed and saw things that the camera missed.
A lot of laughing, joking, smiling. Didn't look like someone who was on trial for second-degree.
Been to a lot of murder trials, have you, Paul? Because generally, someone that knows they're innocent will try and look for the levity during a murder trial. So you leered at her threateningly. What a guy. Jealous that his brother has a better looking girlfriend than his wife. So he wanted to intimidate her. Yep. Which, frankly, of itself should have seen him removed from the court. God, see, I try so hard to not be biased, but this case has just ruined me in this instance. And I feel wrong for that. I really do. Because the simple fact of the matter is, everyone going into every trial should absolutely be in favor of the defense. Because it is innocent until or unless proven guilty. What was your defense during your DUI accident? On when Paul works and takes care of his kids, obsessing on Karen all the time.
Degree murder of a person she supposedly loved.
O'Keefe says he never believed Reed's defense story that someone else killed his brother and that police were framing her to cover it up. He says he was disappointed to see crowds of Reed supporters outside the courthouse each day. During closing arguments, he invited some of the people the defense had tried to implicate in his brother's death to sit with his family.
It was just our way of saying, you know, we don't believe in any of this stuff.
I'm declaring a mistrial in this case.
After the judge declared a mistrial, O'Keefe says Reed turned and smirked at his wife, Erin. Then, as Reed turned and hugged her father, O'Keefe passed by her and says he told her this.
I just walked by her and I said, you know, you're not done yet. That's all.
Let's go back to the replay of that.
Her father, O'Keefe passed by her and says he told her.
She's not even paying a lick of attention to you, you dipshit, and you're saying you told her that she's not done yet?
For this.
I just walked by her and I said, you know,
Sorry, I know I'm going frame by frame and it's annoying, but it literally has to be at this point
I just
here.
walked by her and I said,
You're... That one should not have been able to get through, Mrs. Gatt, I'll be perfectly honest. But hey, what the hell? Knew nothing about the trial, didn't follow the media. I was watching Sean and he showed the pictures. Yep. How the hell do you expect her to act? You have the whole family of the police department trying to frame you for something you didn't do. Mm-hmm. Paul's doing the rounds to get the money.
you know, you're not done yet.
And his wife doesn't look terribly happy with him either. I mean, she's like, just look at the face. Like, anyway. She hugged her father. Dun, dun, dun. Exactly. The father's hugging out. Yeah, she says, stop it. Yep. Shaming the O'Keefes for inviting John's killers to sit with them. Sending the wrong message. EFAP. Well, yeah, I don't generally EFAP shit, but this is, as far as his wife, I'd get out of there. I tell you what it does tell me, though.
I just walked by her and I said, you know, you're not done.
If I were her, I'd be freaking jealous anyway. Why didn't you all frame her better? Exactly.
Done yet. That's all.
Paul O'Keefe says his family is now waiting for Karen Reed's second trial, perhaps within the next 5 to 6 months, he believes, as well as the results of a federal investigation that's been going on for more than a year.
Okay. So the federal investigation, I thought the federal investigation, that must be, okay. Clearly, Paul thinks the federal investigation into Canton and Stoughton and the Massachusetts State Police, as it involves Karen's case, has only been going on for a year or so. He clearly doesn't understand that the investigation has been extended beyond that period. So he thinks it's a result. Of course, because the text messages coming out in Discovery probably drew the FBI's attention to it. But they were already investigating because of Birchmore and... Oh. Wow, this is really gonna... And the Norfolk DA office. Yeah. Didn't have the evidence to frame her. They tried with Karen's DNA on the body and they still blew it. Paul thinks he's part of the prosecution team? Clearly. God damn. I thought the comment would have been asterisk, but he is one. That's fine. I must have screwed something up. That shouldn't have been able to come through, but it's perfectly fine. Defense can use that to bar him from the next trial, saying that. Fingers crossed. Frankly, I think he should be barred from it. There's been clear evidence that he attempted to intimidate. There's been the pig DNA. Oh, God. Like, just seriously, why? Did the Birchmore case trigger the federal investigation? Sorry if that's been covered already. That is my understanding, is that the Birchmore case is what triggered the federal investigation because it was referred. And for those of you that don't know, that was a 23-year-old young lady who lived in Canton who was basically groomed from the age of 13. She lost her virginity to a police officer at 15. And she was basically passed around between 3 police officers. And she was pregnant with one of the police officers' kids. He was married with kids. And all of a sudden, like in the first trimester, she all of a sudden, despite, you know, being excited and telling people she's pregnant and all that sort of stuff, turns up dead. The same medical examiner that determined that John O'Keefe was hit by a car determined that her death was a suicide. That has since been revised by Dr. Death, Dr. Michael Barden, who has said, no, see here, here's this little bone in her throat that never happens in self-yeeting, but happens in like 50 to 75% of all cases where someone is strangled to death. Yeah, so we know that this was a homicide. So that one is having to be that one's happening civilly because unfortunately the young lady is dead. And Michael Langton and Kevin Albert were some of the first officers on the scene. Yes. So there is crossover in between the police officers that are involved. So, yeah, something very much stinks in Canton, Massachusetts. Ow. And I just poked myself in the finger with a pen. So, but, you know, it's all good. We're all just supposed to believe that there's no... Like, it's not even necessarily at this stage that it's a conspiracy. And that's the thing that annoys me, is that people saying, oh, they're saying it's a conspiracy. They're saying it's a conspiracy. No, not necessarily. It could just be police misconduct. It's not the same as... it's not the same as a conspiracy if all it is Matthew Farwell is the officer implicated in Sarah Birchmore's death. Yes. And his brother, Billy William, was also having inappropriate relations with her. And frankly, I think that the supervising officer is more upset because it's coming out that he did it with other individuals. And he probably wouldn't have gotten caught if it hadn't been for how the Farwells acted and the fact that this case for Sandra has come about. So, I'm fully expecting to follow that one through and see exactly how that pans out. The corruption angle's too much to understand. They're already looking into corruption in the next town over. Yep. Forensic ME said John was not hit by a car. The ER doc said that on the stand, but not in the report. Wait, what? I mean, the worst ER doc in the USA, Russell Crowe and Patton Oswalt's love child, that guy. No, so the actual medical examiner ruled it as a ruled John's death as vehicular. Also ruled it a suicide for Sandra, which is completely BS. Yeah, doc said on the stand, but not the report. Oh. Honestly, given how long that trial was, I've kind of forgotten slightly. Still can't believe he defended Proctor, but if he said those things about his wife, you know, he would be livid. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He is a piece of work. He really is. And because it suits his... hang on, I want to see what the... because it suits the narrative and the fallacy that he's constructed for himself so that he can blame someone for his brother's death. And he's just okay with doing all of that. Hang on. What was the press conference? Because I never actually watched the press conference. Trial judge declares mistrial. Okay, so that's court TV. I don't really need any of that. I just want the... outside statements, but it looks like... Oh, of course they're just going to mix it all in with bloody commentary and stuff, so I can't just watch the thing. WPRE, maybe? I mean, it would have had to have been short, theoretically, because I never actually watched it.
Karen Reed murder trial. A judge declares a mistrial after the jury failed to reach a verdict. This after the judge told the jury to return to deliberations earlier in the day. Our Hannah Cotter has been tracking the trial and joins us live from Dedham now with the latest. Hannah?
Well, guys.
No, separate medical examiner, the one you're thinking about, Bush. The way the police chief is handling Sandra's death internal investigation outwardly is with integrity, stark contrast to John O'Keefe's death investigation. Yep, and that really does just make it a whole... I mean, to be honest, I think she's more in damage control than anything else, the Stoughton chief of police, but it's nice to see a little bit of... Well, we'll call it integrity.
It's been a little chaotic here the past hour or so between the rain and the media frenzy and people who came out here to hear the news. Jurors were deadlocked after days of deliberations in the murder trial of Karen Reed, who's accused of killing her Boston police officer boyfriend John O'Keefe by hitting him with an SUV and leaving him out to die in the middle of a snowstorm.
Any news, Karen?
To continue to deliberate would be futile and only serve to force us to compromise these deeply held beliefs. I'm not going to do that to you folks. Your service is complete. I'm declaring a mistrial in this case.
Cheers and rumbles of thunder erupting outside of Norfolk County Superior Court. After 9 weeks of testimony and more than 23 hours of deliberations, the jury in the Karen Reed murder case is unable to reach a unanimous verdict, resulting in a mistrial. Reed is accused of killing her Boston police officer boyfriend John O'Keefe, but her team claims she's the victim of a cover-up. Defense attorney Alan Jackson addressing the media on the steps of the courthouse.
Folks, this is what it looks like when you bring false charges against an innocent person. The Commonwealth did their worst. They brought the weight of the state based on
And they still fucked it up.
Based on compromised investigation and investigators and compromised witnesses. This is what it looks like. And guess what? They failed. They failed miserably, and they'll continue to fail.
In a statement, the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office thanked the O'Keefe family for their commitment and dedication to the process and said prosecutors plan to retry the case. And the judge has scheduled the next hearing in this case for July 22nd. Reporting live in Dedham, I'm Hannah Cotter.
July 22nd. Okay. All right. Oh.
Massachusetts State Police trooper and lead investigator in the Karen Reed murder trial, Michael Proctor, relieved from his duty effective immediately. State Police confirming the action in a statement saying, quote, "Upon learning today's result, the department took immediate action to relieve Trooper Michael Proctor of duty and formally transfer him out of the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office State Police Detectives Unit. This follows our previous decision to open an internal affairs investigation after information about serious misconduct emerged in testimony at the trial."
I'm declaring a mistrial in this case.
The suspension coming just hours after a mistrial was declared. NBC 10 Boston investigators confronting Proctor at his house just before the announcement.
We'd like to ask you some questions.
Hey, Aussie Tank.
Do you think your actions impacted the outcome of the trial?
Yes.
I'm not on your lawn. I'm on the street. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I fully support my husband. Karen Reed is a murderer.
To come back.
The jury unable to determine a verdict after 5 days and more than 27 hours of deliberations.
I think the only reason that they said that it was after the verdict was reached is because if she'd come back as guilty, they may have still been able to justify maintaining him on the force as having, you know, despite all of the crap that he did, a guilty verdict's been found, and that's what she was supposed to be doing. And it's like, did you see the Micro Dots interview with Mike Shute? No. What's that one? Do we really? Do you think he's really been relieved of duty if she'd been found guilty? I bet not. No, I don't think so. Favorite part of Proctor Pooper Troctor Cross was his claim that he solved the case by himself simply after talking to Brian Albert and Jen McCabe with no other evidence. Someone might break Proctor's tail light. I would fully expect that the Alberts and the McCabes will not have a working tail light for the foreseeable future on most of their cars. It's my own personal opinion. Not that I'm looking to incite violence or anything like that. It's just I would fully expect it, or I would not be surprised if it happened. Should have been canned well before that. Yep.
Monday, ending 29 total days of testimony, with the prosecution calling 68 witnesses in this case and the defense calling 6.
The deep division is not due to a lack of effort or diligence, but rather a sincere adherence to our individual principles and moral convictions.
Quick question, and this might be a controversial take. I have yet to talk to any of the other lawyers about it, but after how some of these trials have gone recently, and how we've had mistrials and all that sort of stuff on various cases, and how, in my opinion, certain innocent people have gone to jail, do you believe that an acquittal or an innocent verdict should be unanimous? Because I'm leaning towards no. I'm personally of the belief that if 1 out of 12 people legitimately, genuinely believes that someone is not guilty or they're unable to be convicted, that of itself should be reasonable doubt and cause an acquittal. I do not believe that the verdict should have to be returned as unanimous. Because the whole point of the standard of proof is to prove beyond reasonable doubt that someone committed a crime. That seems reasonable to have that as a unanimous verdict. Should be a question of majority, but it's a tough question. I want to be absolutely clear. I'm not saying that guilty verdicts. I don't think that, hang on, let me phrase this properly. Guilty verdicts should be unanimous because it's beyond a reasonable doubt. If a single person out of 12 cannot reasonably believe that someone committed a crime, I'm of the belief that that is reasonable doubt that the individual committed the crime. I don't believe that it should be up to the other 11 people to have the same reasonable doubt. Guilty should be unanimous, not guilty should be when you meet that. That's what I'm trying to say. So, but anyway, okay. Nice to know that I'm not alone in those sentiments.
Delivered to Judge Beverly Cannoni from the jury, stating they've been deeply divided by fundamental differences and opinions. The Norfolk District Attorney's Office confirming they intend to retry the case. Outside of court, Reed's defense signaling this isn't the end.
This is what it looks like when you bring false charges against an innocent person. The Commonwealth did their worst. They brought the weight of the state based on spurious charges, based on compromised investigation and investigators, and compromised witnesses.
Free Karen Reed supporters down the road telling NBC 10 Boston they're not going anywhere.
This case is a travesty of justice and a mockery of justice.
Cheers, Fader Bozo. Picked it up in Vegas last month.
Not guilty. But as we learned, this case, nothing happens the way it's supposed to happen.
Oh, we'll be back. We'll be back. Absolutely.
I'll probably don't ask the one chick
Karen,
that
I love Karen, and Karen could be any
like-
one of us.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about break.
Why would you pick the one chick that is like legitimately has serious crazy eyes? Like, Jesus. Everyone should agree to send someone to prison for life. Innocent, not guilty, should be majority of people who have reasonable doubt. That's a fair standard. If it only takes one person saying you're not guilty, there would be a lot of guilty murderers getting off. Yeah, but that means that the prosecution has not proven their case. That's the point that I'm making. Black people will say black people are not innocent no matter what all the time. Okay. Look, it's like I said, it's not a perfect system, but at the same time, I genuinely believe that if you cannot prove that beyond a reasonable doubt that someone committed a crime, then they should not be going to jail. Now think of it, how hypocritical that Paul O'Keefe should criticize defense lawyers for doing interviews and press conferences, then do the same himself. Yeah. Unanimous verdict alleviates the stupidity of jurors. There are dumb people. This is very true. This is very true. All right, guys. I am going to go and get some sleep. Been going for 2 hours now, so I'm going to send everybody across to Kurt because he's about the only person streaming at the moment. But Huck Tour on the case. Well, you know. But anyway, as always, remember, you're not a piece of shit. You have value and you do contribute to society, especially for being here. Thank you to everyone that's hit the like button. Hugely appreciate that. I will see you all back here tomorrow, my time. Same time tomorrow, but I'll see you in the morning, my time anyway. So, nighttime in the US, morning for me. But as always, stay healthy, wealthy, and wise, people, and I'll catch you all on the flip side. Cheers, peeps.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks. Don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Okay, so now that everyone else is gone, or at least the ones that sort of like disappear after the end of the show, if anyone in chat has any sort of thoughts or ideas as to people that I could have on, that would be great. Mainly, like, I've been thinking about asking other people from LawTube on, but I'm still struggling with the whole, well, what the hell do I talk to them about? But it's more of an annoyance than anything else, just because, like, how the hell do I talk to someone like Ian? Because I don't know much about Canadian law, I don't know much about gun law, but at the same time, I don't want to come across as I'm doing it specifically just to bolster my own channel. But the simple fact of the matter is that I am going to be going on a heavy subscriber drive. I want to do, Sean, yeah, well, obviously. Oh, look, you actually can remove watermarks from videos. I mean, are there any particular topics you think that it'd be better for me to deep dive into with anybody? Is there anything that I'm not, like, things that I've said that I've focused on as well that I need to? I mean, these cards really are a godsend because I start writing things down as opposed to just trying to remember it, which almost never happens. I mean, I suppose I can talk to Sean about probably. I mean, I can get a lowdown on the Boone case from him, because, like, I mean, I can do my own research, but he's fairly heavily into that. Where are we? And is there anyone outside the legal sphere? Because I suck at this sort of crap. I really do. Like. I didn't actually end the stream, did I? Maybe I did. Yeah, oh well. That's fine. A few questions I have for Indigenous Australians that I'm too afraid to ask Indigenous Australians. Can always save that. That one could be interesting for a Rumble thing. Talk to Sean about Port Arthur and the case with government. Good call. Port Arthur. That'll probably have to be a Rumble show though, if I'm perfectly honest, because that'll get heated, and that'll be yeah, okay.
Ow, my soul. Ow. Don't sit there. One.
Hello, friends.
Hello. Goodbye. What's this? Hillsborough County deputy seriously injured after getting run over by suspect in a traffic stop. Ooh. Maybe I can save that. Anyway. Oh, all right. Anyway. Be fine as long as you're not showing guns. Oh, no, just because, I mean, we'll be discussing things that... Oh, I suppose there's plenty of videos that talk about Port Arthur on YouTube, isn't there? As long as I'm not dropping, like, C-bombs and shit like that. So... Anyway. All right, well, look, if anyone has any ideas or anything, or if you think of anything, let me know.